20 years, or 21 years, as you can say, is a long time. And in between 2006, I guess, Porno by Irvin Welsh was released, and it took so long. Why did it take you so long, and what was the main challenge and difficulty to make this sequel? Or is it a sequel, would you say, called a sequel?
We tried for a long time, actually, to call it something else, because we wanted to, when you're kind of trying to, we wanted to make an independent film, independent of the first film. You can't, of course, because it has to have a conversation with the first film.
A lot of Trainspotting 2 is very much about the passing of time, and a lot of things have changed in filmmaking in the remaining 20 years, especially with digital cinematography. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your approach to the visual style of Trainspotting 2, perhaps in how it relates to your approach to the first one.
Yeah, we were talking about it actually this morning, and one of the things that has changed, and I've been very fortunate to work with Anthony Dodmantle, the cinematographer, on a number of occasions, as cameras have got smaller and more reflexive, if you like, if you have a great operator. And he can grab things that you could never predict in a script or never allow for in a meeting beforehand, a planning session, where the actors...
You like to think that you can ignore cameras and just in the practical sense of shooting a scene. You like to think that you can ignore them. You got really good at it, but when you suddenly have a bunch of guys around with essentially camera phones with handles, you realise that, because you do not notice it there, and it totally freed us up. So you realise that it actually does have an effect on you. So that's just like one of the practical aspects of it, as far as actors are concerned.
Yeah, and I mean the quality is obviously these days. Is both very high, and also audiences are prepared, I think, much more to accept the variation in quality that comes from using other equipment rather than a coherent, smooth picture the whole time. You can drop in stuff from phones and pictures, and which is what we tried to do in the film, yeah.
How different are you from the Danny Boyle of '96, artistically speaking?
How much have I changed? I don't know. It was very interesting.
Maybe it was also guys, huh?
Yeah, it was very interesting. It's quite humbling. Sounds a bit dodgy, but it's very good to go back to people that you work with at a different stage of your career, because you can have no pretensions about who you are or what you are. You kind of like go back to a kind of ground zero, and you find that you have a kind of something in common, really, which is rare to find that amongst such a good group of people. And it was very difficult to find a woman who could go with that, this younger woman that we needed in it. Because I think what Anjela does these four guys are pretty serious actors. They're pretty hardcore actors. They can really turn it on. And no, seriously. And to come in as a young actor into that is very difficult.
It was exciting, but also really stressful, because I don't know if I can do it. Can I do this? Because, they're all professionals on such high level. And so I always had this inner doubt. But then I just decided to trust Danny, because he's Danny. I mean, he really proved to everyone that he knows what he's doing. So
Danny has a unique energy that he brings to his work, and he has an amazing ability to galvanize everybody's enthusiasm, everybody in the vicinity that he's working with. And I'd say, we were all a little bit younger, a lot younger 20 years ago, and Danny was flying on a spontaneous energy that was completely infectious.
The first movie was, this magical mix of, good content, great writing. The whole thing came together at the right time also. And there's no way you can do that again. There's no way that you can create that lightning in a bottle twice. So there's no point in trying to do so, So I absolutely agree. And I think that the only point for me personally, the only interest in getting involved is the fact that it's 20 years later, because it's not a sequel. It's a post-mortem, if you like.